Saturday Night Thunder is ready for fun in the summer months. We've got a little bit of time before we head back to full-time competition later in the year, but until then, we've got a few weeks of racing to ease the drought. Welcome back to SNT, powered by Kallhoff-Deitch Racing. This is the Summer Series in its inaugural run. It's our second race of the season from the Kansas Speedway. Last week, we raced at Daytona for our inaugural event. We're looking forward to 100 laps of racing today in Tornado Alley, and I'll be your host, commentating and producing. I'm David Kreutz. We missed last week's coverage. However, we've got ourselves a race summary to show you exactly what happened as we took to the track for the very first time with the new ARCA Menard Series cars. Narrated by our friend Henry Kallhoff, let's first and foremost walk through what happened last week before you bring us back, of course. We bring you back for qualifying coverage as we return right after this.
The pace car rolled on the pit road as Hudson Sangster and Richard Cherry would lead the field to the green flag for the first S&T Kallhoff-Deitch Racing Summer Series race at Daytona. It was Hudson Sangster that would lead them into turn number 1, but Richard Cherry got a big push on the outside by Matthew White in the 88. As Hudson Sangster did not have a lot of help at the bottom, as the field was able to hold even for the most part. Nobody was willing to go wide just yet, content with where they were at. And Richard Cherry would take the lead, being cleared to the bottom in front of Hudson Sangster. Now right here, as we're going to see in a second, Michael Deitch is going to get a little bit tight in turns 3 and 4. Gets up against the wall, keeps it against the wall, did not hit the other cars. Hats off to Michael for not causing a wreck, but unfortunately he would lose the pack as a result of this. And the following lap, Richard Cherry makes a big block on Matthew White, does not work, and that's going to send him to the back of the field. And then it was Matthew White in command of the lead here. Then you see Connor Asbell going to try to make it 3 wide, as this was the beginning of the 3 wide action we'd see in the race. Lap 17, our first caution came out as Brody Webster got into Vinny Tigner as both of them slid into the infield grass. And this is our first caution of the race. Then it was Hudson Sangster once again on the front row, your pole sitter, as Connor Asbell restarted in second. Sangster got a major jump over his teammate Asher Bunkley. Decided to go to the top here to pick up another teammate, Aaron Schugel, as Schugel makes his way 3 wide past Connor Asbell. Both lines are able to pull even, but on that same lap, Hudson Sangster gets turned by his teammate Aaron Schugel, causing a major wreck involving Matthew White, Michael Hill, Connor Asbell, and several others were swept up in this wreck. Thankfully, there were no DNFs as a result of this. But you look on the replay here, Sangster gets a bad push from Schugel, turns him sideways. Cameron Chandler makes an incredible save. Matthew White gets swept up in it, as well as everyone's going all over the place to avoid the wreck itself. As Michael Hill locks down, then Connor Asbell gets a lot of air going over the right rear quarter panel of Michael Hill. And then Vinny Tigner makes a great avoidance right there to not hit the 14, but hits the 29 instead. And then right here, Tyler Seaver had an incredible avoidance here through the wreck. Goes down on the apron, sees the wreck, splits the middle, and is able to make it through without any contact. On the next restart was Jackson Van Pelt and Carter Casey occupying the front row for the restart here on lap 25. Both lines are able to pull even, as Van Pelt had help from Curtis Stanford. Carter Casey with help from Michael Hill. Matthew White gets out of line there on the inside line, dropping to the back of the field. And on that very same lap, Michael Hill and Jackson Van Pelt make contact, taking out Asher Bunkley. Vinny Tigner, Michael Deitch, and several others were swept up in this crash. On the replay, Michael Hill tries to go low, Jackson Van Pelt comes up, and they both made contact, taking Asher Bunkley with them. Vig Tigner got airborne right there. Michael Deitch was also swept up in the crash. Cameron Chandler, and then right here, nowhere to go for the 33, Jacob Carino. Here's an onboard Tyler Severe once again, dodging all the chaos again. Hats off to him for a great avoidance. Lap 32, this is the beginning of our single file race, and the inside line got very disorganized here, and that's what allowed the outside line to prevail, as Cameron Chandler led the way over Matthew White and Asher Bunkley. As the top 6 would pull away, then you see the 33 of Clarino trying to make something work on the bottom, and so does Richard Cheery there, but ultimately those two would fall back, as the field was then pretty much separated at this point, all single file except Richard Cheery and Clarino trying to make some work on the bottom. Then right here, a very close call. Stanford comes up into Michael Hill and Van Pelt. Both of them keep it going. An incredible save by those guys to see Henry Kallhoff and Michael Deitch take a evasive action to avoid the wreck. Then right here, another big wreck occurs. Stanford comes up into Clarino, taking out Brody Webster, Michael Deitch, and Tyler Severe. All 5 would continue. But Stanford comes up into Clarino, into Brody Webster. As Clarino gets turned around, Severe makes a hard impact in the outside wall, and Michael Deitch gets a piece of the action there. Go on board with Henry Kallhoff here, right in the thick of the wreck here, and was able to get it slowed down in time, got to the bottom, had enough room to make it through the wreck without any contact. Lap 60 car, Casey tries to avoid a checkup and gets ran over from behind by Tyler Severe, gets over onto Michael Deitch's hood, almost going upside down. As Van Pelt trying to get out of line to avoid that checkup, Carter Casey did as well, lost momentum. That's what caused the wreck here. And Carter Casey got on top of Michael's car, with Severe getting some damage. Ryan Nowicki had an incredible onboard right here, staying to the top side. I see Stanford and Michael Hill also made contact, but both of them kept it going as well. Lap 72, Stanford comes up into Matthew White. Both of them would crash into turn number 1, resulting in the caution flag being thrown to end Curtis Stanford's day. As he came down into Michael Deitch, both of them made contact, and then just a misjudgment right there, as both Matthew White and Curtis Stanford got into the wall. Carter Casey had a really great onboard right here, being very close to being swept up in this wreck as well. Went all the way down to the apron just to avoid that wreck. This is the first green-white checkered attempt with Richard Cheery on the front row and Asher Bunkley to his outside. The outside line does not get going. A major wheel spin by the 79, and then Jackson Pelt comes down into Ryan Nowicki, as both of them would slide on the pit road, and the caution would be out, and we would be in for a second green-white checkered attempt. Henry Kallhoff was on the bumper of Jackson and Pelt as Van Pelt tries to come down. Nowicki slightly came up as both of them would slide through the infield grass. And hats off to both of them for not making any other contact with the wall or any other object. This is the second and final green-white checkered attempt. And here are the last 2 laps of the race as Richard Cheery would lead the field to the green flag with Cameron Chandler to his outside. A much better restart than before, as Richard Cheery was able to get clear of the lead. And you're going to see Asher Bunkley in the moment go 3 wide right there, causing a big stack up on the outside. Then it was Aaron Schugel in that 91 going to second. His teammate Henry Kallhoff going to third. And then Schugel goes to the top side to lead that lane, as both of them didn't have help for a little bit. But both lines are able to pull even. And in fact, Aaron Schugel got a big push from Cameron Chandler that allowed him to get into the lead, as the top 2 are then clear to the bottom, but elected to stay up top for the time being. You see Asher Bunkley trying to make 3 wide once again work. As they came to the white flag, Aaron Schugel in the lead, but now he's going to get turned by Cameron Chandler, comes down across his nose. Cameron Chandler loses momentum, tries to go in the middle. Eventually goes up top to protect the outside line, but Bunkley tries to go middle, and in fact he does, and that results in 3 wide action across the field, as Richard Cheery and Henry Kallhoff were able to pull away from the rest of the pack for a little bit. And Bunkley and Michael Hill make contact, resulting in 4 and even 5 wide for a brief second. Michael Deitch going below the yellow line as the top 2 pulled away as they wreck behind them in turns 3. Cameron Chandler getting a big push from Matthew White. Henry Kallhoff tries to back up, getting a push. Cameron Chandler swings up to the top side. Jerry tries to protect. As they came across the line, it was Cameron Chandler and the number 8 picking up the win in the inaugural S&T KDR Summer Series race at Daytona by 27 thousandths of a second over Richard Cheery. An incredible comeback from Cameron Chandler, who's involved in multiple wrecks, was able to score the win at Daytona, and is now your points leader by 3 points over Richard Cheery going into Kansas. As Cameron Chandler tears up the infield over the Daytona logo in the infield, celebrating the first win of the season here.
And as you saw, the World Center of Racing always brings great action. So now we're coming into our second race of the season with 20 seconds left on the practice clock. Thank you again to Henry Kallhoff for putting together our first compilation of the summer series. And now that we have that first race out of the way, it's time to go at it once more. Practice is coming to a close, and we are making our way now toward race number 2. Cameron Chandler finally getting his first ever SNT sanctioned win. How about that? He just put down the fastest time in practice with a blistering 29.95. And the rookie from last season, perhaps the best ever rookie season without a win, well, he finds himself now perhaps top seeded to do it again. Cameron Chandler first in practice as we board our 5 minutes for the main event. Each and every driver now getting onto the circuit. Sun is setting in Kansas, and we are expecting a night race by conclusion of the showdown today. Looking at about 15 drivers registered so far, and none of which have set a time, so we'll see who the first of which is to get to the head of the field. Matthew White takes on the 41. Usually in the number 2, the Talladega winner from our most recent running in Alabama has made his way back. Matthew tonight going to the higher side of the circuit in that Toyota Camry, and this is the very first time on FTN we've had the privilege of bringing you the ARCA cars to action. ARCA Menard Series getting a big rules refresh, which means that everything you're looking at right now is pretty different from how it's been on iRacing for a long while here. For the longest time, we had the 2009 Chevrolet Impala. It was driven by Brad Keselowski in the Busch Series, and it was scanned shortly after. And from 2009 until just a few months ago, that's what we were using as the ARCA car. Now, the Gen 4 stock car has been effectively phased out from modern stock car racing, and that means that the Gen 6, which is now the equivalent of what you see in ARCA, is what you're looking at today. Now, in truth, when you look inside the cars that ARCA uses, they're not really Gen 6 stock cars. They're actually pretty different. They just have the bodies of the Gen 6 car. All the internal components are pretty dissimilar. It's not like the Gen 4 era where it really was you could take a Cup Series car and turn it into an ARCA machine over time. Those similarities are clear on the outside, but they're pretty different on the way in, and so you're going to see a different style of racing, but it's going to be a quick style. Matthew White with a provisional pole. Henry Kallhoff goes second. Cameron Chandler is third. It looks like he can't back up that fastest lap in practice. White to the point. Carter Casey now on the way in the number 18, as is Connor Asbell. Matt Grab with the pole. That is a 30.092 with an average speed of 182.935. Matt Grab goes to the point. Grab is a one-time SNT winner after a part-time campaign earlier this year. Like Carter Casey is now on the way in the 18. Carter gets on the move, 14th right now after his first lap. So the big opportunity for him on the table here is to move from the back of the field all the way up. At the line for Casey, it is a 30.285, and that is good for 7th place. Only miss out, Hudson Sangster, after recalculation, was less than 1,000th of a second faster. and less than 1,000th of a mile an hour quicker as well. Almost identical laps. Carter Casey just happens to be on the short end of the stick for that one, and the 18 will line up 8th. Looked a little faster at the line, but turns out no. So Carter Casey backs it down, and qualifying has effectively concluded from Kansas. We have a little bit of time before the racing gets on its way. 15 drivers registered, 14 have taken a time. So a little bit more time to spare. Let's talk more about the racing conditions from the Kansas Speedway, as of course we're here for the first time in this summer stretch. Don't expect for this to be the last time SNT heads to Kansas either. We could very well see it on the schedule for the remainder of the year. Now, with just about 25 years under its belt, Kansas City has seen intermediate racing since 2001, with its first ever race, Jeff Gordon taking the victory. 1.5 mile circuit with a very similar profile to tracks like Chicagoland. A notable trait that this circuit has that is similar to the new intermediates: you can drive on the apron down the front straightaway, giving you the advantage in distance, even if it is a flat, bankless segment of the circuit. Drivers have used it before to their advantage. Looks like we'll have our second consecutive new pole sitter. Last week, Hudson Sangster took it to the pole position. Of course, Cameron Chandler ended up winning. So whoever gets the pole today, not guaranteed they go out there and win it no matter what happens, as qualifying has concluded and they'll ring a bell on the session. Every driver has taken an attempt except for Andres Varas. So now we move into your final practice session with 5 minutes left on the clock. Qualifying time being taken at 15 drivers in the field. So maybe not as many as what we're used to seeing in SNT, but it gives us a great opportunity to really take a tight look at the field and the who's who of what we've got going on here. So without further ado, this is your second starting grid of the summer series, and it begins today with Mac Grab in the number 12. Mac tonight going to find himself on the pole position. Vinny Tigner usually repping the 12, but it looks like by virtue of registration, Mac is the man tonight. He's got it up to the pole position. Next to him will be the number 41 of Matthew White. White taking on second with a qualifying time 30.107. Henry Kallhoff just a few thousandths of a second behind, 30.111. And third place for Kallhoff is clear, as Cameron Chandler then takes fourth with a 30.161 time. Fastest in practice and defending winner, Cameron goes fourth. You'll have Curtis Stanford, the number 26. Curtis today qualifying in the 5th position, 16th in points coming in, while Vinny Tigner, your league owner, is going to be then in 6th place. Vinny, of course, get the ball rolling, 17th in points right now, pretty far back. It's Sangster, pole sitter from Daytona, qualifying inside the top 10 for 7th. Carter Casey going 8th. And 18th and last in points right now is Connor Asbell as he looks to make his recovery. He'll start 9th with Richard Cherry in the number 4, rounding out the top 10. Final drivers going as follows, including your 11th place man and Aaron Schugel. Kenneth Gorell will then be in 12th. The number 13 of Michael Hill goes 13th place, and Richard Bunkley in the 79 is the final driver to take a lap. Andres Varas in the 84 will be your 15th and final registered driver, and he'll make his way into the tail end of the starting grid tonight from the Kansas Speedway. This is the KDR Kansas 150, and at the top of the board, very familiar face. Welcome back to pole position, P1 Mac Grab. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock for this final warm-up. Qualifying conditions, practice conditions, and warm-up conditions have been rather different, to say the least. And I think every driver understands that now. What you're getting used to from this point onward is most likely how the race is going to pan out. Coming across the line again, that'll be Hudson Sangster's number 42. Hudson is coming up there with a 9, and that will be Kenneth Gorell tonight in the Polaroid Ford Mustang. A lot of drivers with different paint schemes in this series, and we're learning of some of these guys all over again. To the side now, Kenneth Gorell dropping it down low. Andres Varas didn't take a qualifying time, but is taking practice laps here, so it looks like, even though choosing not to take a time early on, Varas is not done and is still getting preparation in. Andres was with us in the number 84 car for the IORA Cup Series final race and making his first steps into competition here in SNT, preparing for a full-on rookie campaign in the second half of the 2025 tour. 6th place as it stands for Varas. Michael Hill now 10th in this session. These laps are more representative of what you're going to see given the conditions here. Track is only going to get darker and darker. Aaron Schugel getting on the way. That's the number 91. Aaron tonight in the FTN Broadcasting Ford Mustang. First time he's brought that one out on the network here. And FTN Broadcasting sponsoring Kallhoff-Deitch Racing for a select few events in the IORA Cup Series, including when the FTN 5 went racing at Talladega. Unfortunately, Schugel was set to be one of those drivers and had connection failures that night, and ended up being only 5 drivers as opposed to the super fleet of 6 the guys plan to send out. Schugel is all good from here on out, though, and it looks like he's got himself in a great position again, just to get some good laps in and keep learning. As he comes across the line, he'll be 6th here. Hudson Sangster, his teammates, P1 in this session. Chandler, of course, all eyes on him, P2. Chandler coming off of top 3 in points last year as a rookie. That first season, remarkable. Any driver would love to have a season with more than 10 top 10s and consistency galore. He was able to do it in his very first try, going up against the best of the best, including Jordan, Matthew Weeks, and James Thurston. I'd have to admit, for number 8 team of Chandler, I think the goal is set pretty high in winning this title, even if it doesn't mean much in the main series. Qualifying and practice are over. Now to come on to your main events. 100 laps for each and every driver. You'll have as a pole position Mac Grab. Ambient temperature coming in at 78 degrees Fahrenheit, as does the track temperature. Relative humidity of only 45 degrees here. So the track and air temp are identical. Not often that happens, and it looks like for the field today, that will not change. Not going to see any difference in the weather from here. In nighttime skies, same track, same ambient temp. That means that these are going to be favorable conditions for drivers to really push their equipment. Oftentimes, when we go day to night racing, you'll see the track is warm to begin with, slicker, shall we say, then it ends up settling in. We're not going to have that period of drivers waiting to settle in. Looks like tonight, they'll be all good no matter what. The iRacing official pace car is set to lock 'em load 'em once again. Matthew White, notable absentee. Rest of the field now comes off a pit road for your first pit pace lap of the night. Looking at strategy, we have no cap on tire sets, and as such, could be in a pretty good position to have a one-stop strategy call. Cool. No restriction either. We are working with the full tank. That means that drivers are expected to go the first 50 laps or so on their own, and then they'll head down to pit road for the first pit stop. When they come in, they'll be able to go the rest of the distance unless there is a caution from that point onward. Highly likely we don't see that. All about the long game and the long strategy finesse, which drivers here have mastered. Mac Grab with his most get the job done by virtue of the short race chaos in the main field. Now he's got a chance to rewrite the script, show that he's got a little bit more in him than just spontaneity. iRacing official pace car takes it low. Mac Grab on the inside. Cameron Chandler right up high. And for the second time this season, we are green. Mac Grab gets it going with a car lengths advantage as we enter turns 1 and 2. It'll be Cameron Chandler and Henry Kallhoff jousting for the final podium placements. Matt Grab already seeing Cameron Chandler head to the inside on him here. So begins the battle. Cameron coming up, big block. Matt Grab has no choice but to let it slide. Monster Energy number 8, red hot quickly, even though qualifying maybe not going his way to take the immediate race lead. Back up to the spot he finished in last time at Daytona. To the inside, Vinny Tigner on Matt Grab. Just like that, Mac is going to swiftly fall back into third place. And we'll see if he can hang on for P3. Grab ducking low. Tigner might see a switchback maneuver here. Maybe that number 53 car will be able to get away. Vinny across the line, still advantageous. They are 3 wide, just behind with Sangster, the 26 of Curtis Stanford, and Richard Cherry. Week 2 on the season out of 6 races. Next week we're going to be going at it for 80 laps at Knoxville. So a dirt track. Not going to be your typical road course race. Have one road course slotted. That's Watkins Glen. Not going to be your typical oval either. Schedule from this point onward this season goes as follows. June 28th, Knoxville Speedway for 80 laps, 150 laps at Bristol, and 50 circuits from Watkins Glen. And you'll have the Homestead Miami Speedway for 100 laps to end the campaign, and that's going to be a nice simulation of the intermediate style racing we'll have next season. I think that's going to be the best part here. These are full-length SNT races. Some of our intermediate races up to 150 laps, some of which right down to 100 as you see them. So this is a really good way for drivers just to prepare the distance and strategy when they're able to use it. Up high, Cameron Chandler still defending on Kallhoff here. Henry in the number 63 lies behind. Vinny Tigner watching Hudson Sangster go a little bit higher up the track. Like right now, the 42 not able to make a way around Vinny Tigner. Locked low, taken up high again. Aggressive blocking early, and I think a lot of drivers knowing they can be confident and aggressive with their equipment today, but the big question becomes, how aggressive can you be? Currently, anyway, I think the issue is that these drivers don't quite know, but they're pushing real hard, especially up in front. Henry Kallhoff now, side by side with Cameron Chandler, up high as Curtis Stanford gets in the wall. Stanford still looks about as fast as both of them, but it's going to be Henry Kallhoff to the point that time by. Henry, leading his first lap of the day, takes it to the race lead. Down the back straightaway. And into 3 and 4, Cameron Chandler losing the top spot for the first time tonight. Stanford, Schugel, Tigner, Matt Grab all down the line, 8 laps in out of 100. Looks like currently it's ADR guys first and third. Cameron Chandler looking low, but it looks like he's losing pace. Curtis Stanford dinging up the wall just a few laps prior, and while it doesn't look like that's his problem now, not only is Sangster more confident to push through, it's the 26 that falls back. Aaron Schugel making another move, so KDR getting 3 spots in the top 5 and comfortably. Chandler now finds himself the lone exception here. See what he can do about that. 10 laps in out of 100. Side by side between Tigner and Curtis Stanford at the line again. The entire field only separate by 3 seconds. A pretty competitive bunch. Kenneth Gurrell going at it now for 14th. Looks like Andres Varas making this race even though he didn't qualify. As a matter of fact, he's up into 6th place here. Your only retiree, Matthew White, to the inside. Matt Grab goes with Richard Bunkley. Call on the field is currently we're green. But take a look at this. Two-car incident. Everyone else gets out of it. But watch what happened here between Bunkley and Grab. 79 of Richard Bunkley getting the worst of it. Heads low and is disposed of fast. 79 slams the wall. Grab gets away. Now, the 63 of Henry Kallhoff goes toe-to-toe with Cameron Chandler again. Only now it's going to be Cameron back on the offensive. And it might just be Hudson Sangster coming for the both of them. Sangster heads up high. That's for second, and it's going to be clear. Dropping low. Kallhoff once again puts some more defense on it. 13 laps out of 100. Coming to lap 14. Henry Kallhoff found a way. Send Cameron Chandler right back to third place here. And 2/10 back on the teammates. Feeling the pressure as well from Aaron Schugel. Schugel has told us beforehand, not as confident with the Xfinity cars, but it looks like the Gen 6, his arc of form is really coming to its own, and his driving style, helped by what he's got under him. That machinery working out real well to this point. 42 is Sangster, watching with Henry Kallhoff coming toward. Watch what happens now as Vinny Tigner gets into the top 5 picture. Cameron Chandler getting some pressure here, but Aaron Schugel makes a mistake, bobbles out of 2, and loses that momentum down the back straightaway. All the while, Andres Varas now looking for a top 5 placement. And from all the way at the back of the grid in 15th, he has made the last to first challenge look pretty easy to this point. He's stalled out in 6th now for the last few laps, give or take, but all of a sudden, it looks like it's going to be Varas looking for the throne. For lap 16, Andres Varas is rapidly approaching. One to the inside, and Richard Bunkley still on the racetrack here. Is he coming after Matt Grab? We are about to find out. And it looks like we might have some trouble on the racing circuit. Nope. Bunkley stays down low. Grab gets away. No problems. And it looks like Bunkley now just trying to get back on the track to put some more laps in and not fall too far back. Currently the only driver 1 lap down and hasn't yet gone to pit road. That right side damage is real evident here. All the while, Henry Kallhoff passed again by Cameron Chandler. Chandler takes the race lead. Just a surge of momentum coming out of turn 4 is all he needed there. And as he does so, you'll watch now and see the KDR dominance might be falling apart. Vinny Tigner takes it to 3rd, gets ahead of Hudson Sangster, and Andres Varas is looking to take another spot. Varas cares not about what team you run for, he just cares about getting ahead. And again, the number 84 makes his way. Aaron Schugel going to be P5. Now, toe-to-toe, we'll see if he hangs on for it. Could be Schugel taking 4th as quickly as he lost it. Side by side, no contact. It'll be double file side by side with Carter Casey, but Schugel loses 2 spots at once there, and again compromises his exit to turn 2. Sangster 5th. Varas now firmly in 4th. Have you take a look inside the cockpit with the number 84 car. Pretty clear now. He's only looking at the podium. Caution's out first time tonight, and it's going to be Aaron Schugel, the cause. Yellow flag's out. Take a look back. For the first caution of the day, 91 of Aaron Schugel falling to the tail end of the field. And it looks like right there, slowing it down. Connor Asbell getting close. Schugel was loose, finished himself off and spun up the track. slams the back end, and the 91 has damage for the first caution of the day. Aaron Schugel. Yellow flags out. Currently getting himself to the field as we pace for the first time. 22 laps in out of 100. Cameron Chandler leads, and he's likely to lead them into pit road. And that he does. First pit stop cycle of the day, just about every driver coming in. The only exception here, Lapper on its way out. Bunkley coming in now as well. So full field, end to end, putting itself together. Bunkley's going to get the lucky dog. And so now, see who comes out first. We're still expecting to see one more pit stop no matter what happens here. So this will not be the race-changing stop. Matt Grab coming in a little bit late for a pole-sitting stall. We'll see who gets out first. That's what matters most. And it looks like it's going to be just barely Cameron Chandler. 3 wide at the line at pit exit. Cameron over Kallhoff and Vinny Tigner. Now that was close, no doubt about it. Luckily for the 8 team, just gets the nose out on Kallhoff, and Kallhoff got a nose out on Vinny Tigner. We're coming to green for lap number 24, Richard Bunkley back on the lead lap. And so now the entire field of starters is ready to go again. Matthew White will not start again. He qualified well and just wasn't able to make it to the green flag. 14 drivers with us here. Andres Varas, your biggest mover, qualified 15th by virtue of not taking a time. Started 14th and is up to 4th. Very early, the biggest mover in the coming to 1 lap to green now. We're coming out of the quarter waypoint. ADR Kansas 150. The inside is Cameron Chandler. Out groove is Henry Kallhoff. Kallhoff today, followed by Andres Varas, and then Richard Cherry on the outside. Cameron Chandler having the backing of Vinny Tigner and the 42 of Hudson Sangster. We will head green all over again. Lap number 24. Restart number 1. Cameron Chandler gets the jump off the line. Kallhoff a car length back. Everyone's on new rubber. Let's see what happens next. So far, Cameron maintains that early gap, and again, start zone, just maximizing the potential of it, gives you at least a few turns ahead of yourself. Henry Kallhoff now ducks to the inside, can't quite get it there, and so quickly we see 3 wide all over again. Richard Cherry there with Vinny Tigner and Hudson Sangster. Sangster to the inside, Cherry up top, Vinny forced 3 wide middle. Not at all where you would like to be. Of course, in a situation like this, you just have to deal with it. Vinny to the bottom. Now comes Aaron Schugel in the 91. And Connor Asbell in the mix. Carter Casey, 10th place. Kenneth Gorell, 11th. Curtis Stanford, 12th. Michael Hill, 13th. And Richard Bunkley, now 14th and last, coming to pit road again. It looks like, for Bunkley's sake, going to nose it into pit road and tow it. Kallhoff to the inside. And for Henry, it's the race lead all over again. So far, these two have swapped leads multiple times now. Once more, it's going to be Kallhoff just barely losing out at the stripe. Thousandths of a second. Very good run from Cameron Chandler to take that lap lead back into his hands. Cameron now goes up high. Henry Kallhoff to the inner groove. And it looks like, again, just going to continue putting that fundamental block. Inside goes Chandler. Andres Varas in third. Vinny Tigner in fourth. Hudson Sangster in fifth. Then you'll have Matt Grab in P6 and Aaron Schugel seventh. Connor Asbell, having some internet troubles here, was running inside the top 10, but we can't focus on him just yet. Now it looks like he's going to find himself at the tail end as he just had a problem, but nobody else saw it. Now Connor Asbell going to have to come down to pit road, and the 72 car gets out of the racing pack. Swift end to Asbell's time up in front. Aaron Schugel, 91 car, looking at Hudson Sangster here and trying to find opportunity in it. The FTN Broadcasting 91 has been on the bottom fringe of the top 10 so far. High of 4th, started 11th, has been as far back as 13th. And that fluctuation, just indicative not only of the tight competition, but also pit road, will do a number to you if you do it wrong. Hudson Sangster up high with Aaron Schugel now. Hudson and Aaron, teammates. Sangster debuting his Instagram self-promotion paint scheme. And this is something we alluded to on Thursday night if you were watching with the IORA Cup Series, and it looks like he has brought it to fruition. I want to get a read on what that says. Kind of hard to tell based on the angles you're seeing here. Well, let's get a better look at Hudson's paint scheme and take a look with our eye in the sky as he comes our way. Coming into the back straightaway, and at Sangster chasing. That is Sangster as you read it on the timing ticker, and chasing, no spaces, and he just got up in the wall there, chasing a higher groove. Didn't quite work out. Anyway, his teammates coming back up to him. As you can see, looks like he got himself a photography profile. Now, if you look at his main page, it's more of the same, but this time around, storm chasing. Interesting to see as we come to Tornado Alley, a fitting paint scheme for the 42 crew. That is Hudson Sangster, and currently he is in 5th. All the while, the leading battle has simmered down. Peter Chandler has it over 2nd in Kallhoff. Andres Varas 3rd. Vinny Tigner 4th. Hudson Sangster 5th. Aaron Schugel 6th. Matt Grab in 7th in the number 53 here. Grab, your pole sitter, has gone up and down the ladder so far. And for the most part, I mean, there's no doubt about it here. Matt Grab losing a little bit more time. Oh, just got in the wall there briefly. He was involved with Richard Bunkley. Connor Asbell is retired. Bunkley is now 8 laps down. Matt Grab still holds his own. 33 laps in. Jerry further back in 8th, watching this fight. But as they spread out again, Sangster's coming in on Andres Varas. Cameron Chandler and Henry Kallhoff, positions 1 and 2. See right now, these two drivers have been up in front, without a doubt. And almost no competition besides them. That just comes down to the lap lead numbers. If you take a look at that statistic, 13 laps led for Henry Kallhoff, 20 for Cameron Chandler. So to this point, they have led 30 of the 34 completed laps. We now on lap number 35. Vinny Tigner in the number 12 car here. They're trying to make it so. See that Ford Mustang skating up to the top side of the circle. Hudson Sangster in 4th, Aaron Schugel 5th, Andres Varas P6. Still a third of the way through. Main pack has gotten away. Matt Grab is the dividing man. It's the top 6 all together. Then it is 7th on down. Way high. Cameron gets a move on again. Henry Kallhoff, P2. Vinny Tigner and Hudson Sangster. Watch this. To the inside now for third. Sangster just barely there at the line, but it'll count. Vinny Tigner falls the car length back. Now these drivers are skating up to the high side of the track, which oftentimes you don't see at the intermediates in the long run. Maybe drivers try to make use of that high side for a desperation pass, or they try to get that groove going just so they can go multiple places. But it's interesting to see that right now the high side is, by all intents and purposes, the place to be, at least through the corners. And it's going to work out real well there for Cameron Chandler. He's stuck to the fundamentals of staying up top, and look how it pays off. Sangster gets in the wall briefly, but still, even though he brushes up, he'll be able to get away. Vinny Tigner in third. Sangster got up in that wall, briefly catching it, but these safer barriers are pretty delicate compared to the old concrete walls that many a circuit had. Now, the Kansas Speedway is not an old circuit. He said, started Cup Series racing in 2001. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway started safer barrier testing nearly a full decade before that. So drivers haven't had to concern themselves with safety to that same degree. And of course, in the virtual world, it's more about car safety, driver safety. Of course, sometimes you get those freak incidents where, someone does get hurt in sim racing, but it's so rare that it's really more about the car's damage. 99% of the time anyway. Just comes down to equipment failures in the real world that could make it dicey. Inside, there goes Varas. Andres again coming outside of the top 10, and he was dead last in qualifying. Chose not to take a quali time, and he's still there as Aaron Schugel stays right ahead of him. Hasn't found his way yet back to the top 5 where he was on the previous run. 40 laps in out of 100. Cameron Chandler makes it his 41st. Chandler, Tigner, Sangster, 1, 2, 3, but the closest battle is right behind them. Schugel and Varas bouncing off each other there. For 5th place, it gets tense. Advantage, Aaron Schugel. Unfortunately for Varas, I think he was just in the worst position there. He was on the inside trying to get the exit where Schugel had it on the higher groove. So, just like that, very little you could do. If you're the 91 of Schugel, of course, you got the edge. Andres Varas drops back 4/10. Richard Sherry, 7th place in 4. That 4 car, he keeps it moving. Carter Casey 8th, Matt Grab 9th, and Kenneth Gorell P10. Gorell rounds out the top 10, and there are 12 drivers now on the lead lap. Cameron Chandler, Vinny Tigner, Kallhoff. Gap is now a half second. Tigner dives to the inner groove once more. Looks like now Cameron's going to be in cruise control of main racing rival. Kallhoff maybe falling off more. We got 21 laps on this stint, so just about the same as the previous one. Question becomes, is Kallhoff going to be saving his stuff now, or does he not have it left in him? Henry's often a hardcore short-run driver. Not often does he pull for the long term. His most aggressive moments are those that are up in front and fast after a restart. It looks like he and Hudson Sangster have comparable pace as the 42 goes up to the higher groove again. Take a ride on board now and briefly with Henry Kallhoff, and we'll see what's going on now for the 63. Take an eye on that driver telemetry as well. To the ceiling of the circuit, all throughout fourth gear without stopping. Everyone getting up to the top side of the circuit just to maximize that on throttle time, and it actually saves a little bit on the rubber. So it's beneficial for everyone involved and for the long-term benefit of this race, of course, for drivers to keep at it on the higher side of the circuit. You're traveling a little bit more distance, but you might be able to save a little bit more of your equipment to go the distance again. I think that's the end goal right now. Looking at Cameron Chandler here, have a lot of direct competition right around him. So, as long as he bides his time, runs his pace consistently, shouldn't have an issue in maintaining the race lead. Vinny Tigner is coming close. The gap is now within a quarter of a second. And we'll see next, of course, what's done here. Does Vinny have it in him to make an aggressive maneuver? Will he stay behind and stay in line? Or, of course, are we going to see a little bit more out of other driver? Hudson Sangster is within 0.7 of a second here, and last time by, he was quicker than both of the drivers ahead of him. .49 laps in out of 100. Carter Casey to the inside of Richard Cherry. Kenneth Gurrell, 9th place. 8th place, Richard Cherry, of course, now as he got by the Gurrell car. Carter Casey trying to get up to Matt Grab again. Grab was struggling, got himself back in 6th, and he might just re-enter the top 5 here. Andres Vara, shaky. Not so much now for Grab. Back with the confidence to go to the inside. And it looks like still hasn't been able to make it through. 50 laps in out of 100. Vara's faltering on the outer groove. A quick move for Mack. Makes way. Carter Casey ducks low, and the Interstate Battery Chevrolet SS. Well, a throwback in multiple ways there. Joe Gibbs Racing once was a Chevrolet outfit from its early days, its founding in 1992, until the 2008 season when they switched to the Toyota Camry. Our Tomorrow era began. That was the point of no return for JGR. Notably, this is a fast fact that maybe the newest of viewers don't know as we approach halfway. Tony Stewart did not drive the 18. He drove, of course, the number 20. He won all 3 of his championships in Chevrolets for teams that ended up running non-Chevrolets after his titles. He won the 2002 and 2005 championships with Joe Gibbs Racing. In 2008, they switched to Toyota. They have not looked back. And in 2011, he won the championship for Stewart Haas Racing in a Chevrolet. Just 2 years after, 2014 and on, they switched over, or rather, after 2014. After that season, they switched over to the Fords, and they closed the team as a Ford Mustang outfit. 48 laps to go. Vinny Tigner within 0.2 of a second, and now coming closer to being within 1. Line again. Hudson Sangster has cut the gap in half on his own account. Richard Cherry to pit road. After a 31-lap run, Cherry going in, well, he's got himself enough time to go the rest of the distance, so this will not be a concern of whether he makes the end of the race. Everyone else may be looking to split it halfway as Vinny Tigner gets to the middle. Hudson Sangster looks low. He's looking to make it a 3-way battle. And just like that, it's going to be Vinny Tigner over the number 8 of Chandler. 46 laps to go. Side by side, but Tigner falters and the 12 car drifts out of the second turn. That gives Hudson Sangster the opportunity now to go right up against Cameron Chandler. across the line again. And Vinny falls back to 4th. That gives way to the 63 of Henry Kallhoff. Side by side, see right there, Matt Grab, Carter Casey. Coming up on the lapper of Michael Hill. Hill is 2 laps down as it stands. .44 laps to go. Henry Kallhoff up to the high side in 3rd place. Hasn't yet been able to get it up there on Henry. Hudson Sangster is further ahead now of his team owner. The inside for the race lead, only to slide top. Cameron Chandler blocked by the 42 of Sangster. And a quick move for Sangster pays off fast as ever. Not only was it a slick drive to the inside, but to block so effectively, now it's going to be Cameron all over the 42 and not vice versa. Sangster takes the race lead, and your Daytona pole sitter all of a sudden has more company up in front. Not just a leader, but a lapper. The 13 of Michael Hill is putting the Jets on, and he's right alongside your top threats. Coming down the back straight again with 42 laps remaining here. Sangster gets a car length. Michael Hill still trying to make it by. That would put him 1 lap down, and so it does. Cameron Chandler following Hudson Sangster down to the apron, then pulling him right back up. That's going to box out the 13. That'll send Chandler low without any harm. Cameron Chandler gets the wide open lane, only to get a little bit loose out of 2. And again, just makes a minor bobble. It makes all the difference. Vinny Tigner up in the wall. Oh, he's going to be losing control. Tigner in the 12, saves it, but falls back. Far back is 6th, as a matter of fact. 2 to 6. Now Hudson Sangster gets even more room out in front. 40 laps to go, and we're counting down the laps from here. Chandler in the wall. Matt Grab up to 3rd. And even though it looked impossible before, maybe, just maybe, Grab gets a front row start and finish. From being involved in our first incident of the day, Matt Grab has put on a remarkable recovery race. And it looks like it's only just begun. Coming toward the final stretch. And more than that, the final pit stop cycle. Drivers are now on a 40-lap stint, which means that they have done more laps on this stint than what they will do from here on out. They are eligible to go down to pit road whenever they please, but no one is given the signal to come in. Waiting to see which of these leading contenders decides to be the first. Currently, there's no takers. Up high for Hudson Sangster, 38 laps to go. The fun begins on Saturday nights for FTN Broadcasting, but will also be live tomorrow with the Schumacher Racing League, as SRL is really coming into its own for the next portion of the year. Summer break we had, and we move toward our 6th race of the campaign. Top 15 in points sees James Thurston leading the championship over Peyton Howell and Sean Rowe. After 5 races, the spread is tight up in front. Thurston again has himself the advantage. Of course, that's just the weekend live on FTN Broadcasting. An exciting night of coverage as drivers head down and in. Mac Grab, the first of the juggernauts to make his way through after 42 laps. He'll go for the undercut. He'll beat everyone at pit road. Now coming with them, Hudson Sangster, Henry Kallhoff, the teammates at the head of the field. ADR comes in as 1, drivers paired together. Carter Casey in the 18 is third place now. Tigner takes second. Cameron Chandler leads. Battle up in front has gotten heated. And while Chandler again takes it to the point, it has been far from uncontested. You're seeing guys like Sangster and Kallhoff, and even Vinny Tigner get up there and attempt to lead laps. Henry Kallhoff on the way. He'll be following his number 42 teammate as Kenneth Gorell makes it in. Kenneth goes through. Now the 8 of Chandler is up next. "34 laps to go. We're looking at 5 holdouts and counting them down one by one. Aaron Schugel in the 91. This Ford Mustang is thrilled, of course, to get back in the top 5, but at least briefly. Fortunately for the KDR 91, it looks like not as successful a race as his teammates so far. He's had some time in the top 5, yes, but he is several seconds off the leaders even now, which means that unless he makes an alternate strategy call, which very well could be the reality, Schugel finds himself 4 seconds back plus off exit, no matter what he does. Top 3, the holdouts that remain. Andres Varas went down to pit road and cycles out 8th for the time being. All the while, Cameron Chandler looks to lead another at lap number 69. 32 laps remaining. The home stretch ahead of us. The final stretch on strategy there as well. Let's see who gets the better end. Chandler leading the strategy call here, or will it be Vinny Tigner and Carter Casey, who are following and have the advantage, of course, of not making the decision, but letting to adapt it, of course, the guy ahead. I think Cameron has the bigger advantage in that he really can set the tone and set the pace whenever he'd like. "31 to go. Lap by lap, minute by minute here. Vinny Tigner gotten slightly closer. That time by a full 1/10 of a second faster. And even though Cameron Chandler has seen the likes of Hudson Sangster, he's still been the prime contender for the win. And so now, 1, 2, 3, they come down together all as one. It's going to be a 48-lap stint that comes to a close as Chandler, Tigner, and Casey come through. And now, Aaron Schugel is the last holdout taking the race lead. Meanwhile, Hudson Sangster is chasing after Mac Grab because it looks like now Grab will be the leader on strategy. 30 laps to go. And it comes down to how quick Chandler is off pit road. You're watching him right now. 4 tires and fuel for the most important stop of the day. Off and away. Tigner gets ahead of Chandler. Still, Carter Casey behind him. Hudson Sangster gets by. Sangster clearly ahead as a matter of fact. And you'll see now 1, 2, 3 rolling out. Tigner, Chandler, Casey. They'll have 7 laps younger tire, though. That is big. That's not a difference of just a lap. That's a difference of about 10% of a stint. And when you think about the difference, lap after lap, because you're dropping 30-second laps when you got the freshest rubber, and then you're dropping closer to about 31, 32 seconds on older tire, then without question, that 10% makes a difference. That's a few tenths of a second you're giving up each lap. And when you're giving up a tenth each lap, you're giving up a second every 10 laps. Give up a quarter of a second, you're giving up 2.5 seconds every 10 laps. That could be about 7+ seconds off the table for your opposing driver. Think about the gap from the best laps you're putting, ones you've got now. Mac Grab is coming after Hudson Sangster, and And vice versa, we've seen it all race. This time around, it gets to be Sangster on the offensive as he chases after the Ford Mustang ahead of him. Cameron Chandler, 10 seconds behind now on your overall race leader. While he's got new tire, he's got a lot of distance to climb, and that is a mountain in itself. 7 laps to go. Monster Energy Chevrolet SS now up to the ceiling of the circuit. With that comes another train of draft. I think that's the only thing these guys have to offer now to each other. Get in line, race each other like your teammates, at least briefly. As Hudson Sangster makes the move on Mac Grab. Grab won't be all too happy about it, but Mac has older tire by a lap. Whether or not he was waiting for that moment, it looks like he immediately springs out to the lead again. Mac is not going to let it happen easily. Hudson Sangster quickly got to him. 25 laps remaining between your race leaders. Richard Cherry is your overall race leader, mind you. However, Richard is on 22-lap-old rubber, which is significantly older than that of the 42 and the 53. Side by side, Mac Grab again takes it up top. Sangster plays this one with patience. Very clearly has the advantage in tire youth. Can't burn himself out here, though. If he does, it's game over. Pole sitter last week, looking to go to victory lane this time around and get some racing redemption. All the while, if you take a look at the gap, currently, Hudson Sangster 2 seconds back on your overall leader. Cameron Chandler is about 5 seconds back on the battle you're looking at here. 23 laps to go. With FTN Broadcasting, we always like cranking it up in the late race stages, and it looks like we've already gotten to that point tonight. If you've enjoyed our coverage, make sure to leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We've got summer racing coming at you on the weekdays and weekends all year long. Until that point, though, thank you for tuning in. With 22 to go, we're going to crank it up with Whiplash Sim Cams, iRacing's most up-to-date camera package. 3 sample cameras offered on their Discord server. You can't go wrong with Whiplash, so visit their social media services. As now, with 22 laps remaining, let's go and crank it up from Tornado Alley here in Kansas. Ready to rumble for the Kansas Speedway. It's all coming together with 18 laps to go. 4 drivers in one position as Richard Cherry falls aside. As loud as it gets from the Kansas Speedway, with more engines roaring along each other, it'll only get feistier. Henry Kallhoff goes high for third. Cherry out of the way, while Matt Grab and Hudson Sangster go toe-to-toe again. A little bit of contact. Bumper to bumper. KDR drivers now 2 of the top 3. All the while, Cameron Chandler's cut the gap to within 3 seconds on this main pack. Don't count him out, even though he is still out of the frame. That is due to change. 17 laps to go. Chandler is out in his own world, hitting his marks. Oh, Hudson Sangster in the wall, big there. That'll give Matt Grab the race lead again. Inside. Hudson Sangster tried to get at it. Looks like he succeeds in getting low. Can he succeed in taking the position once and for all now? The pole sitter going up against 2 teammates, and here comes KDR's team owner. Henry Kallhoff subbing himself into the battle, and now he'll go at it with Matt Grab. Grabbing the wall, 15 laps to go. New race leader, Henry Kallhoff. Kallhoff blocks his own teammate and sends Matt Grab into the wall. Major slam with 15 to go. Just collateral there. The 53 had no place else and got shoved up high. Take a look at this. Kallhoff blocked the 42, and Sangster tried to find room so quickly that he ended up slamming Matt Grab, and that is his race. He'll have to head down and into pit road. Horrible for Grab, who was having a remarkable performance. Coming back up to the front of the field. But unfortunately, this is the second incident he's been involved in. Luckily, he's going to take a faster pair now. So by a miracle, his race might not be over. Oh, but Henry Kallhoff gets what he needs, and his teammate falters. All the while, the gap has been cut to within 1 second on Cameron Chandler and Richard Cherry. The gap between Chandler and the overall race lead is 1.7 seconds and is diminished by more than 5 seconds now from where we start first. 88 laps in out of 100. Looks like now, Kallhoff, while he appears to be up ahead and free, no questions about it, and he is far from done. The work is behind him right now. We'll see whether or not anyone can get up now to the 8 car on their own terms, because he's still on the offense. Cameron Chandler, inch after inch, coming up on Richard Cherry. Cherry is still hanging on pretty well, even though he's got a lot older rubber. And it looks like a top 5 is all but guaranteed so long as he doesn't make a mistake. Henry Kallhoff is ahead of Sangster, looking for his first Summer Series win. While Chandler is vying for his second straight. 11 laps to go now. Cameron, gap is 1.2 seconds. He has to make it up in 11 laps. Very doable. It just comes down to whether or not he'll do it. Last time by was a 30.975 compared to a 31.173 from Henry Kallhoff. That's about 0.2 of a second advantage every time by. So, 10 laps to go on the table. Take about 6 laps at that rate. Cameron to get up to Henry Kallhoff. Realistically speaking, Cameron Chandler will get up to Kallhoff. But there is no guarantee as to whether or not he's going to pass Kallhoff. That is always a completely different story, and I feel this Monster Energy team needs to gear up quickly for the offensive rather than just chasing down. Nine laps to go here. And Kallhoff, very quickly, is getting hunted. 3 drivers within a second to the race lead. Chandler, the last of which, has most speed left. And you can see him hitting 7,000 plus RPMs on the way in. sailing at a speed of 172 miles an hour into turn 3. Dropping it back just a few miles an hour again. Hudson Sangster getting into the wall out of 4. The last line of defense for Henry Kallhoff is his teammate behind him. We'll see how well he plays that team role, or if Cameron's even got it in him. Watch aboard now with Hudson Sangster. Eight-tenths of a second. Vinny Tigner fights for 4th place and gets by Richard Sherry. The gap between Cameron Chandler and leader Kallhoff, 8/10 at the line. Gaining only a 1/10 of a second that time by. Was a little bit below the expectations, but Chandler can afford a lap like that. "94 laps in out of 100. Hudson Sangster still in the middle of this battle. I'm thinking the only salvation for Henry Kallhoff here is the fact he's got a teammate behind him and not another driver he consistently battles against. Not a rival. Someone he knows he can trust on the back end. All the while, Kallhoff getting a little bit slower each time by. Lost another 2/10 right there. Gap is 5/10 of a second with top 3. More that Cameron Chandler pulls in, the closer that overall gap gets, and the more work Hudson Sangster is going to have to do. 5 laps to go at the line. It is crunch time from Kansas. Teammates separate now by only a few tenths. Sangster in the wall again. Here comes Cameron Chandler. The shot in the arm now, knowing this is his best shot to get second. So quickly putting the power down before Sangster did, but Hudson, using the higher groove, actually gets a better run off the corner. Patience works out there, but that's one small battle in this war. 4 laps to go. Time is of the essence for Cameron Chandler here, and he's really running against the clock. Although he's got himself the position now, it doesn't look like time is going to be playing any favors for any driver. Hudson Sangster to the inside on Henry Kallhoff. The teammates swap. Crossover maneuver, Sangster in the wall. That'll blow his chance. Chandler takes second. 3 laps to go. Henry Kallhoff now with a rear bumper that might be worked over and a mirror filled with the number 8. Hudson Sangster in the wall one more time. Blocked big by Cameron Chandler. Hudson, can he send it low? O'Dice that time by. 2 laps remaining. And you'll see now, Chandler is there, but he isn't yet in passing range. White flag next time by. We're at lap 99, and the race win is far from settled. Sangster waits in the wings. Might get called up to the lead if there's conflict ahead of him. But Chandler can't afford that. He'll slightly scrape the wall again. Henry Kallhoff has a 1/4 of a second. Cameron Chandler has been digging. He's got 6 laps younger tire. On paper, he's got the edge. In practice, Sangster's coming after him again. 1 lap to go. White flag flies, and Cameron Chandler is passed by Sangster. Hudson, with one final shot in the arm, gets in the wall. So does Chandler. Vinny Tigner takes second. They're weaving and botting for the podium places. But for the 63 of Henry Kallhoff, he will come home free. They're toe-to-toe for 3rd, and at the line with finesse and strategy, Henry Kallhoff wins in Kansas. It's his first Summer Series win and his 2nd ever SNT victory. Outlasting Cameron Chandler, your defending winner, Kallhoff is back in victory lane on this Saturday night. "29 of 101 laps led. Course 100 completed. Kallhoff is back in victory lane. And it's been just over a year and a half since he's made it home. Huge victory for the 63. Now to burn it down. For Henry Kallhoff, and his team continues to celebrate. By all accounts, a remarkable performance for Kallhoff-Deitch Racing as they pull away with double podium. Hudson Sangster able to come away in third. Let's talk about those race results from top to bottom before we get a word from your top three finishers. In the KDR Kansas 150, Henry Kallhoff wins 0.4 of a second back is Vinny Signer. Third place is Hudson Sangster, with fourth in Carter Casey, Cameron Chandler fifth. Richard Sherry goes P6 with Aaron Schugel seventh. Eighth place Andres Varas, Kenneth Gorell ninth, and Curtis Stanford P10. 11th place on the day. Then after that is Mac Grab with Michael Hill coming 12th, Connor Asbell 13th, Richard Bunkley 14th, and Matthew White 15th place and last on the day. Henry Kallhoff didn't have the easy route to victory tonight, that is for certain, even though he certainly had himself pace. And more than that, he had himself a good team around him. But all in all, it didn't look like he was going to have himself a quick route to the checkered flag, and he had to work for it and then some. Henry Kallhoff, welcome back to victory lane. You were clawed down, but even in the last moments, you were able to defy the odds.
I don't know how I did that. I mean, I felt like Cleus McFarland out there. I was like a bald eagle going to every corner. I mean, that was super fun all race. And so, man, I mean, it's been such a long time since I won on the FTN channel, but very, very worth it, driving out here tonight. And, I wasn't sure how this race is going to be. The outside line proved to be very loose and, kind of figured that out about 34 laps into a run and then started running the bottom a little bit, just kind of balance out the handling it. It certainly paid off. So, man, this is certainly awesome. I mean, I can't thank everyone enough. Vinny and Scar for allowing me to host the series. It's been super fun. And certainly, hopefully, we put on a show for all the fans. But, man, that was super exciting there.
And a great run to the finish. I mean, we saw more than 60 laps consecutively under green. We had that strategy, and it was a workout, I'm sure, inside the cockpit to make it stick. You had old rubber, and usually that doesn't play to anyone's favor, but you kept calm and made a 35 final lap stint work out. Could you walk us through your perspective inside the cockpit?
All right, so when Hudson pitted, I pitted because I'm like, I don't want to pit too early because eventually I'm going to fall back. I don't want to pit too later because I don't know if I'm enough time to catch whoever's leading. So I pitted around middle of that pit strategy, and so I really just sent it on the pit road. Hudson braked a little bit earlier. I just kind of rolled on the pit road and then was able to stick with him. And then towards the end, I saw the 8 car catching us. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be a bad day for us. So I also want to apologize to Hudson, also the 53 of Matt Grab. I saw those two made contact. I kind of threw a little bit of a block. I just didn't think that contact would happen. So I want to apologize to both of them. But I started running the top of the last 15 laps. I was just throwing everything I had, laid it all on the line, and certainly paid off. So that was pretty awesome. Man, that was incredibly fun. Thank everyone for having a good race there, being very wise, like I said at the beginning of the race. So that was really awesome there.
Start to finish, exciting racing as we have just started our, of course, first ever summer season. Intermediate racing, as classic as it gets for SNT, but we're going a little bit of a different direction next week. Knoxville, 80 laps. How excited are you for that one?
Oh man, I'm super excited. I mean, that's my home track. I love it. It's got a special place in my heart, and I'd be super awesome to win there too. And Cash Gold told me he's gonna race there, so I'm gonna have a little bit of competition because he's raced on dirt more than I have. But should be a fun show next week, and hopefully I can finally win at my home track. It's been a long time coming, but we'll see.
Moments away now from getting the job done, and of course, made it all the difference. Strategy, holding out, defense. Henry Kallhoff, first summer series win, and it's about time to bring it back to victory lane. Any final thoughts you got for us, Henry?
Well, first and foremost, I'd love to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I also like to thank my family and friends for supporting our team, supporting my ambitions in racing, and to all the people that have made the series possible. We've been working on the summer series for a couple months now, and to make it all happen, it's been pretty incredible. I've definitely been learning a lot now that now I'm on race control and such, so definitely really fun. And I want to thank everyone as well for being in the series as well, all the drivers that have shown up. Thank you to them as well, and also thank you as well, David, for broadcasting the race.
Henry Kallhoff back on top and a double podium for the team as KDR goes first and third with Kallhoff, team leader, at the helm. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yep, thanks so much.
Kallhoff on the move. Next up is Vinny Tigner. Vinny is no stranger to avoiding the drama of the late race antics, and that's exactly how the 12 team made it back to second place today. Pretty typical. It's happened time and time again, but of course, it's all about being consistent with it, Vinny. You were just outside the podium with a few laps to spare, and it turns out, back, of course, 12 team up in front. Vinny, P2, how was it?
Oh, it was fun, man. That was actually a really good race all around between the leaders. There's a handful of us that were just kind of swapping positions, and every time I went for the lead, though, I seemed to get loose. Like, the car was very unpredictable for me. That's obviously due to the lack of experience with these cars. I think I've only raced Talladega with these cars and Michigan. So first time in a mile and a half, and I've gotten better at Kansas, so I kind of knew what I was doing there. But the car, it was just every time I went up there in a high line and somebody was in front of me, it was just the way the dirty air worked. The thing would just snap loose or get tight really quick. So just trying to figure that out, and I felt like I kind of got it down pretty good, especially towards the end. I saved a little bit. I think I beat Cameron and Carter out of the pits there on that green flag stop, and I just try to manage my tires. I knew they were going to be an advantage at the end, and I just got there too late. I hit the wall, I think, coming to the white and off of 3 or off of 4. I completely screwed that up, so kind of killed the run. But hey, to get second place and to Henry, I'm glad he got the win, so that's cool.
Had a lot of long green flag racing. You were the first of all the drivers in terms of position to get on the newest rubber. You waited it out a little bit longer, had yourself a fresh start, and you were one of the guys who was actually biding his time. You and Carter Casey were tight together. Cameron Chandler ran out, but it looks like that patience ended up being a benefit.
Yeah, it definitely could have paid off. Honestly, if I didn't hit that wall, like I said, and going into 3 there, it could have been a pretty good battle for that win. So who knows who would have won? But either way, I mean, still to have a shot. I was getting a little worried. I think with 15 to go or something like that, I just wasn't seeing the big gains, at the top guys, and then eventually it started coming our way. And but yeah, like I said, I was saving when I was behind Carter and Cameron there, so it was about to pay off. But oh well, came up short.
Just one spot away in the second opportunity to go racing. Going to be a little bit different up next.
Yeah, what is it, Knoxville?
Going dirt racing. How you feel about that?
I don't know. I don't have much dirt experience, but we'll see what happens. I'll do my best, that's for sure, and hopefully just have fun.
Vinny Tigner, second place here as we went racing for the second time in the summer series, keeping, of course, cockpit in good shape, making sure you got that experience before we go main series racing. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, no, obviously thanks to you, and it was good talking to you. It's been a while, and shout out to Henry, for obviously winning this race, but him and Michael Deitch for doing this summer series, branching off with the S&T Xfinity series. So I'm glad those guys hopped on that, and thanks to the guys that showed up tonight. That was a good race.
Vinny Tigner, middle of the podium in those last lap heroics to get out of the way of trouble and move up the line. Vinny, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tigner on the move, one last to speak to, and that is Hudson Sangster, who, of course, went real well tonight, leading laps, ended up being a total team affair for better and for worse. Henry, you got yourself in some late race contact, bounced back, had a shot for the win. Overall, P3 in some hotly contested racing today.
Yeah, I don't know if you could tell, I underfueled the car, so that's why I slowed down so much at the end. I'm pissed about that one.
And it looks like the difference was strategy there. Now, underfueling it, so you made a call on tires and in fuel. Could you walk us through how it went in that?
I didn't expect a long green flag run, and I left the auto fuel feature on an accident. I was one of the first to pit, I think. Whenever Matt Grab pitted, I pitted, and took 4 tires, and I just let the game figure out the fuel. And evidently, I didn't have enough because I was almost 2 laps short. And then I realized with like 15 to go when I had half-second lead. So I was like, shoot. And I figured at least finish the race. I can't run out from the lead. That'd be embarrassing. So I actually ran out coming out of turn 4. I don't know if y'all saw me sputtering, but I had to take what I could get, Critical mistake, but you live, you learn. As a young guy, that's what you got to do.
Of course, only our first race here in the summer series in the intermediate category, so still a lot of room to keep making those changes. But Henry Kallhoff, double podium. How big was the team operation today for KDR, of course, working together?
It was awesome to race with Henry at the front. It was nice. I mean, if I wasn't gonna win, I'm glad Henry got it because it's a little. I could rest easier knowing, oh shoot, I screwed up the race, but at least Henry won it, and that's what counts. At the end of the day, KDR guy got the dub, and that's what's important, especially in a series that we're running. We got to show that we can bring the fight to everyone.
Looks like tonight the owning team brought it with serious business. Hudson, bottom step of the podium, and in terms of your SNT racing, your best finish yet. Anything else you'd like to leave us with before we head out for Knoxville?
I think all my sponsors, Sangster Chasing on Instagram, Cube Graphics. I'm proud to be running for Kallhoff-Deitch Racing. They're awesome, and we'll see if I can run Knoxville. I don't currently have sponsorship or the track, but we'll see if I can run Knoxville. I know I'll be running everything else. We'll see if I can run Knoxville. I just want to carry this momentum throughout the summer series and even into SNT next year, and it'll be fun.
Ready to keep the good times rolling. A career best for Hudson Sangster in the 42, third place tonight. Thank you for your time, Hudson.
Thank you.
Sangster on the way. You've gotten the word now from all 3 of your podium finishers. Third place for Hudson Sangster, a career best finish. Vinny Tigner back to the basics, and it worked out well as he goes P2. Leading man, winning man, Henry Kallhoff back to victory lane, and it's no surprise that he was eventually going to get there. Finally, it comes to pass. It's our second race of the 6-race summer series in Saturday Night Thunder. Say that 10 times fast. We'll be going next then to Knoxville Speedway and going dirt racing for the first time in SNT competition. How sweet it will be. June 28th, same time, same place in FTN Broadcasting. So if you've enjoyed, leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you back. From the virtual Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, you've been watching coverage of the Kallhoff-Deitch Racing Summer Series, brought to you by Saturday Night Thunder. We hope to see you back for our next week of coverage and tomorrow's broadcast with the Schumacher Racing League. Until then, congratulations to Henry Kallhoff for his first win this season. We hope you have a fantastic night.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.